This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
When you hit a brick wall, the easy path is to stop and turn around, to see that barrier as a message that you have gone as far as you can, to believe that you gave your best effort and there is no more to be done. When you reach that obstacle and you still have it in your heart to move forward, you are persistent in finding another way, knowing that this is not the end of your journey, but merely a distraction that must be overcome. The thought of someone on the other side of that wall who needs you the most will haunt you if you choose to give up. So we forge ahead and remain vigilant, looking for an opening. Whether we use a sledgehammer or creative engineering, we will get to the other side. The main goal is to never stop so we can reach that person who needs us the most. I'm Kevin Donaldson, always here with Mike Falaise, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming adversity and overcoming suffering, then we're for you, because that's what we do here, and that's the stories that we highlight. So do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, please comment, ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content, and now you can join. And of course, follow us on all social media so you can find out what we're up to when we're up to it. Tonight, I bring in a friend of mine. What, we've known each other 25 years?
Long time.
Yep. We're going to be talking about persistence, the suffering of persistence. I'm bringing in my friend Billy Styskal to talk about something because he's been in law enforcement since the early 80s. He's seen it all. He's seen the methodology of it all. And for some reason, he stuck it out this long. Billy, thank you so much for coming. And
Thanks for having me.
We're going to have a lot of stuff to talk to because Billy and I've leaned on Billy at times. There's times when I needed his counsel, when I needed his experience, and he's always been very, very willing to give it to me, even though his wife was my boss.
She's my boss. Don't feel bad.
Before we get into anything, let's do a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. Now, we don't trust anybody as podcasters, and we certainly don't trust anybody as police officers, but we do trust the guys over at Toyota Hackensack. So if you're looking for a car, go to toyotahackensack.com and tell them the Suffering Podcast sent you. So, Billy, each week we take a question from our audience. This question comes from Soulfish. What has changed in your method of how you develop plans 30 years ago versus today?
Wow. I'll tell you what, big differences.
So you were 40 years old at developing plans if we go back 30 years, because you're considerably older than me.
Hey, I'm one of those dinosaurs, yeah. I'm the old man in uniform, for sure.
So what do you think that changes?
Well, so I started back in 1982. Back in 1982, one of the big changes that we see right now is social media. Social media, I talked to a lot of guys how this has had a big influence on law enforcement, especially how people perceive us. Back in 1982, there was no social media. When you got on the job, you had to prove yourself. There was no boasting on social media. There was no interference with social media. So I'd say probably the biggest change is social media has probably been the biggest change. And then recognizing over the years of being on the job, it's been generational differences. So each generation has different ticks. Back when I started, we were talking about this earlier. When I started on the job back in 1982, a lot of the guys that I wound up working with, they were all Vietnam vets. And back then, and this is probably what really got me into resiliency, is if I had a problem, I never went to one of those guys, because those guys looked at me and they said, when you got 5 years on the job, when you get your first hash mark, then you come talk to me, because you haven't seen anything, kid.
I had a boss like that. He said the same exact thing to me.
Yeah.
You don't know this job until you got 5 years. My way of thinking with that, and I'm like, that's a really messed up way of thinking.
It really is.
And you know who put it the best to me? Our friend Steve Sarjace. So Steve,
great guy.
Steve was, to me, he's like the prince of a man, because I remember Steve coming to me when that was told to me. Don't talk to me until you got 5 years on the job. Steve came up to me. He goes, no. You're fresh out of the academy. That is true. While what you're lacking in experience, I am lacking in book knowledge that you have. So you have something that I need, and I have something that you need. So let's work together, and I'll grab some of your stuff, and you grab some of my stuff, and then we'll make you a better cop.
100%. And I'll tell you what, I got schooled real quick when a kid came out of the police academy, and I said, listen, you're lower than whale shit. You don't know anything, because this is what I learned growing up. The kid's a sergeant now, too, by the way. So we're sitting there and we're talking. But and one thing I didn't understand is they're fresh out of the academy. They're just learning all the new nuances of the job. And I'm, still an old school guy who's not kind of keeping up with the times. So you get a new guy that comes out. He's schooling me on the new laws. So I said, how about that? I mean, that was an eye-opener for me. You actually have someone new coming into the job, and they're teaching you something.
If you're mature enough to listen, you can learn something from everybody.
100%.
Yeah.
And you know what? They come with experience, too. I mean, some of these kids that have limited experience do have experience in some spots. I don't care if it's a cultural experience. Everybody brings something to the table. So as a field training officer, I had to recognize their talents and what they had to bring. That never happened to me back in 1982.
Shut up. Do your job. Write your reports.
Get me my coffee.
Yep.
And you better know how I like it.
Yeah, and again, that bites somebody like our gentleman I was just talking about, Steve Sarjace, because the night he went, he's got 20 years on the job. He goes, you know what? You always get coffee. I'll go get coffee. There's a shooting at Quick Check.
Right.
July 16,
That's right.
2004.
Yeah, I was working that night, actually. Yeah.
And I hear his voice over the radio, and I go flying down there, and I'm the second one there. And, I was on too many of them with Steve. But for me, I used to be very quick on the draw. Not with my gun, with my attitude. All right? And
not you, no.
Yeah. And I would spout off at the mouth the first thing that came to my mind. And getting to that incident, that's how well I remember that. It's July 16, 2004. We're standing at the scene, and that was the first homicide in town since like 71 or 72 when the mob hit happened on Pitcairn.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Drop a dime.
The drop a dime, yeah.
Drop a dime. They wrote a book about it. So nobody really knew how to work a homicide scene, right? We knew, but we had no real world experience. So we're doing the best we can, right? So one of the bosses come up, and he's a big, giant dickhead. Did I say that out loud?
I think I know the guy.
Billy knows this guy I'm talking about all too well. He comes driving in. We know his car. He drives in the scene. We're documenting people walking in and stuff like this. And one of the sergeants comes up to me and says, "We need you to put your hat on."
Oh, I remember this.
Okay.
I remember this.
We need you to put your hat on. Now,
Yes.
the guy who was killed that night, I knew him. We go in there for our coffee all the time. And I was there when he was alive, and we shipped him off alive, and he died on the way to the hospital. And to me, that was the most insane thing I ever heard in my life. I just saw somebody I knew get shot needlessly of a stupid robbery over money. And you're telling me to wear my hat because they're afraid the media is going to show up and stuff like this. So my initial response was, you got to be fucking kidding me. Those words ruined my career. They ruined my career completely. And then I had to write a report, and I remember writing this report, and it was a report. It was one of those reports, and Steve Sarjace looks at it, and let me see if I can mimic him. He takes the report like this. He's reading it. He goes, looks at me with a big smile, and he goes, "It's good." And it's exactly what I would want to say. But no, if you hand this in, you're in for a world of shit. Boy, I did not listen because that's what happened. What I should have done was take a step back, let my anger squash, which is the way I try to do things now. Let my anger squash, not be so vocal, and not let everybody see my cards right away. And that's the difference between 30 years ago, and I wasn't on the job 30 years ago, but I made a lot of those bad decisions where I don't let anybody see my cards right away because I let my emotions sit and simmer for a minute and try to figure them out. Is this pure anger, or can I think this through? Is there a better way to do it? But that kind of stuff only comes with age, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And sitting here in this older body, I'm much wiser, and only because I've made those mistakes. So that's the way my methodology of how I develop plans changes. I don't fire off when I see something. I'll sit back and I'll try to find a tactical position in order to do it. I think it's a better way to do stuff.
100%. I had an old timer tell me once before, when you put your pen to paper, let it sit overnight. Come back, look at it again, read it again. And you sit there and look at it and go, wow, I was angry.
Yeah.
I should probably take some of those words out because it does bury you. So you never want to write something on emotion, and certainly something like that, because everybody, even outside your agency, was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Is hat this really what we're worried about? Is a hat?
I got punished with desk duty for 9 months. That was the outcome of that. for 9 months, which to somebody who loved the streets and loved the job, I mean, that's a slow death.
Yeah.
And he knew it. He knew it. He knew he had me. So, you know, it is. And I tried everything. I had our delegate go in there and talk to him and with me and, you know, a lot of threats and stuff. But that was the toxic work environment. And you know what? I was too young to realize where I was. I should have been better suited. Because when I got in there, guys told me, hey, listen, be careful, right? Because they all told John Nichols, right?
Another good guy.
So I recently, he was at my book signing.
Oh, no
He
kidding.
came with somebody else, and I'm like, John, you know? But we talked about that, and I said I should have listened to the guys with a little bit more experience and not been so hot-headed and been a little calmer. And I think it would have suited my career a little bit better.
You know, and you would hope that, and I know Steve very well, and Steve was such a level-headed guy. As a matter of fact, I told him one day, you should have never been a cop.
Yeah.
You're just too nice.
Yeah.
Too nice a guy. But, you know, when it came time to doing police work, Steve was excellent at it.
And he let you do your job.
100%. But you know what? You hope, and the mentorship end of it is like, look, kid, I've been in your shoes. I've done what you're doing. I'm telling you, I made all the mistake in the world, so you don't have to. Don't do this. This is going to hurt you. So if you listen to someone who actually, and that comes from both ends, you know, communication is not just about talking, it's about listening too. So if an old timer is telling you, you got to like relax. And I'm telling you, I've been down this road and you don't know you're fighting with a serpent.
And you know what? It's an underestimating thing. You think you're young, you can take on. You know, you got everything figured out, and you just. And we were talking off air about the one sergeant who says you don't know shit.
Right.
There's a lot of truth in that. His delivery method was wrong, but there's a lot of truth in
100%.
that. You really don't know how to check your emotions. So, hey, Soulfish, thank you so much for that question. That was a great question. Keep sending in your questions, and we will try to get them on the air. So, my old friend, Billy, it's so great to have you in here.
It's great to be here, man. I love watching you. You know, I'm catching you on Sundays and everything. I just recently went off Instagram, so I miss you.
Yeah.
But I am watching you on TikTok a lot. I love watching you. I think what you're doing is a great thing. I'm very proud of you for all that you've done.
I think, you know, I've said this many times. Maybe I was never meant to be a cop. Maybe that was just a conduit in order to get here.
No, you know what? You were meant to be a cop because your experiences are that's what's making you right now. So you have an opportunity to bring a lot of your experience to others. Even Bobby Cradell, right? So you can even, that whiny little bitch. So you bring a lot of experience to him. And look at the connection you've had and look how you met.
Yeah,
What brought you together. If you weren't a cop, you would have never met him.
Bobby is one of, you know, and I haven't known Bobby that long, but Bobby and I just clicked. And it's not a perfect relationship by any means, right? So
I know, I live it.
Bobby and I have had our battles, right? We've had our arguments. The cool thing is with my friends now, I will battle with them, but I let it go real quick. I won't hold it in as much as and Bobby and I recently just had something, and but you know, then we were fine. And we tell each other the truth. That's the big thing. We like.
No sugarcoating, right?
There's no sugar.
Total transparency.
I do it with the guy out here in the booth, Tom. He's another one. My other friend, Mike. You know, and we have our little tiffs because we're family, right? We're family, and we're supposed to have our tiffs. The difference is, and this comes with age. I'd rather have you as a friend, and your friendship means more to me than a minor little whiny little bitch moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Billy, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, how you came on the job, because you've been, yeah, I mean, I think
I think the statute of limitations is over. So
I have to say that I think Serpico was still on the job when you were
yeah,
working.
I think he was too. I'm embarrassed to say it.
Are you ready to enhance your skills and provide the best care to those who need it the most? I'm Kevin Donaldson.
I'm Sherry Alsop. Our trauma-informed training is here to help, and we've been traveling across the country delivering this essential need to departments and organizations of every size, shape, and makeup.
We come to you with on-site training so you don't have to worry about travel or scheduling conflicts.
This isn't just a class, it's an interactive experience. You'll learn directly from subject matter experts who teach from a victim's point of view, putting you in the shoes of those who have experienced trauma.
This approach allows you to understand trauma on a deeper level and to better serve the individuals you work with.
We'll guide you through new interview techniques that prioritize a victim-centered approach, ensuring safety and empathy in every conversation.
And for those of you in law enforcement or other fields, our training includes post-credits, giving you the extra added value and recognition for your commitment to professional growth.
We offer references upon request to show just how effective our training can be.
Don't miss the opportunity to improve your understanding of trauma and make a real difference in the lives of those you serve. Get in touch with us today by going to sherryalsop.com and let us bring trauma-informed training to your organization.
Together, we can make a lasting impact.
I grew up in Montclair. My family was a wealthy family. I never liked that.
I remember that because Sue showed me a picture in your
Which picture?
The overall. No, not that picture.
Okay.
That's that picture. That's in the private stash.
Okay.
In your overalls, like you had like these real high-end overalls. You're a little kid.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Montclair. I grew up in an affluent section of Montclair. I was a very rebellious kid who never wanted to be part of that society. So I started hanging out with probably the most undesirable group of people I could in Montclair. When I went to high school, I started really getting really bad. I got into fights all the time. I made it through 4 different high schools. I never seemed to last long in any of them. And then I got into an incident with a cop in Montclair. I actually threw a rock at him and hit him in the head.
Ooh.
So I cut him open, Yannick Brook Park. I used to tell everybody when we used to hang out, this is our park. The cops don't come in here and tell us what to do, right? I was an idiot. So cops come, they're clearing the park out. I wound up hitting this guy in the head. I cut him open. He catches me. He old school cops me. But he was nice enough to drop me off at the house anyway. So cut, bruised.
That was the way it was, right?
That was. And you know what? I walked in the house and my old man said, "What did you do wrong?"
Yeah. Well, did he tell your parents?
No.
No. So that was the way it was, right?
Nope.
People don't understand that. See, there's one of two ways. It's either they do a little curb adjustment, or they take you home and tell your parents. I take the curb adjustment every single day.
The guy was great. I'll tell you what. And the guy's name is Lenny DePoe. He was a patrolman at the time. And I wound up really getting very close with another guy that was there, this guy, Jerry Harms. He was actually the guy that got me into law enforcement. He said, "Look, you're going to hit that road and you're going to say, I can either go left or I can go right. I can go with the bad kids or I can make something of myself." So Jerry says, "Why don't you join the deputies in Montclair? Become a deputy police officer. You get a little feel of what it's like." And I did it. And it was the best thing I ever did. Ironically, the first guy I rode with was Lenny DePoe. And that was done by design by the sergeant, Rick Lancaster, that was working. He's like, "Oh, you guys have beef. You're going to work together."
So what was it like? You sit in the car with that guy, a guy you pegged in the head with a rock.
Awkward. Awkward. It was interesting. We went out, we used to go and eat at the Belclair Lanes. There was like a little diner in the bowling alley. So we pull into a garage and he says, this is the only thing he said to me all night: "See the wall? Stare at it. See the radio? Don't touch it. Shut up. Don't talk to me. I'll see you later." He went and ate and came back out. Long story short, we wound up going to a burglary call. I chase a guy. This is back when I could run fast. I chase a guy. I catch him. He had a glimpse of a little bit of respect for me because of how I handle myself. And then as time went on, we started to become friends, ironically. He never let it down. Every time I went to a class and he was there, he goes, "Hey, Bill ever tell you how we met? You see this?" So, yeah, good guy. So that's how I got into law enforcement. I met some of the greatest cops in Montclair, and what a variety that I worked with. Like I said, Vietnam vets. There was a guy, Tommy Sobers, who was a lieutenant, World War II vet. These guys were this was, part of the greatest generation, and some of these guys from the Vietnam War had just seen just about everything. So they had a lot to teach, and I learned by watching. So I just took on the attitude of just shut your mouth, open your eyes, open your ears, and don't talk. Just listen to what they have to say. And I did, and I listened to a lot of guys, and I learned from a lot of guys there. So I wanted to do the job full time. So I took a test, and I wound up becoming a cop in Essex Fells, this tiny little town in Essex County, no traffic lights.
No sidewalks.
No sidewalk. I came from Montclair, a town of 40,000 people, to a town of 3,000.
And a lot of rich people.
And a lot of rich people, which I didn't really like. Mm-hmm. So I did my time there. I loved it. I had some great opportunities. I was a go-getter. I loved, going out and making car stops and being a cop. Got a little frustrated because There was really not a lot there.
Well, you had Roseland Avenue.
That was it.
So people don't
and the
understand-
Roseland cops I used to go visit all the time.
So people don't understand. Let me paint this picture for everybody. I was a cop in Roseland. Billy, when I first met him, was a cop in Essex Fells. We bordered each other. Okay, whenever something popped off in Essex Fells, burglary, because you get lost in all the streets in Essex Fells, we all converged, and that's the way it was when we first got on. We all helped each other out.
Yeah.
Because you guys didn't have any more than 2 on the road at night. We didn't have any more than 2 on the road at night. So who do we have to rely on? We have each other.
Right. And those were the days where, you could meet up. I mean, I probably spent more time. I could probably say this now because I'm not in the job. I spent more time in your place.
I was retired. I've been retired 12 years. I'm good.
I met my wife in your headquarters. That's how crazy it is. And that's how close we were in agencies.
And we didn't have any female officers.
Yeah, right. Well, he's cute, though. In high heels. So I wound up, we were going through some changes in Essex Fells. They were looking to do some downsizing. They were looking to merge us with other agencies. And I said, you know what? If they get rid of us, where am I going to go? I'm a 15-year patrolman. I'm an old man, and I look back, I was young. Where am I going to go? Who's going to hire me? So I went to a bunch of different places. I went to the prosecutor's office. I went to West Caldwell, a couple other places. I sent out my resume. Same day, everybody turned around and says, we want you. So I'm like, all right.
Well, one of the things you don't realize, and I don't know whether you know this about yourself, is there are certain cops in every area who is like your go-to guy because you have a certain demeanor. You're like you were an elder. To me, when I first got on, you were an elder. You were a guy that I leaned on. Okay, Donnie Allen was the same way. So Donnie Allen.
My sidekick.
All right. So another cop in Essex Fells, when I had a question about case law, I went to Donnie Allen.
Yeah.
Because Donnie was that guy.
Yeah.
Right? And you lean on those guys. And if you're the right guy, like you were the right guy because you were the guy that was willing to give all that information. All right, you didn't hold it for yourself. You'd be like, no, this is what I've learned and this is what I know. How many union questions did I come up to you and
Oh
ask
my
you?
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I spent a lot of time in a union.
Yeah.
I served on every position in that union. I loved it. And the reason why we were making the money we were making is because we fought for ourselves. We were our advocates for all of our officers. And our union, our local, we covered 6 municipalities. So we were negotiating 6 different contracts all the time. And then we finally got Roseland to come over.
That's right. We dissolved 293.
Right, so 293 with John Nichols and Robbie Simpson.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Rob.
We all have our cross to bear. Kid almost drowned me twice.
Robbie dispatched people to a call as Beavis and Butthead, and I'm not lying to you about that.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that was my cross to bear.
And there's a couple of them that I can't even say on air.
Yeah, when we brought, as a union guy, I felt like, I wanted to be an advocate for those that weren't strong enough to be an advocate for themselves. And I carried that through when I switched over to West Caldwell as well. I stayed on as part of the union. I got really heavily involved in scholarships for kids that wanted to get into law enforcement. So, yeah, that was a big a sense of pride for me in my career. I spent 16 years on the executive board.
So I remember when you transferred to West Caldwell. And listen, as far as moves go, going to West Caldwell was a good move. It was a good move.
Phenomenal department, really, really good.
Aggressive, well-paid,
well-trained.
Well-trained.
Great supervisors.
They had it all. But when I heard you were transferring, I was surprised. I'm like, and here's how I thought about it. I'm like, Essex Fells doesn't understand what they're losing. Because you were as Roseland had Steve Sarjace, one of the darkest days in my police career is I'm sitting right next to Steve and he's on the phone with his attorney, who happened to be my attorney, saying, I'm going to put my papers in. And I remember I'm sitting next to him in the car 69, sitting next to him, and I go, my head whips. And I go, and I feel this overwhelming sense of dread. So when you transferred to West Caldwell, I'm like, man, they don't know what they're losing here.
Well, you know what they did, and kind of what made that happen was, so Donnie Allen and I, right, my sidekick, when they wanted to do this takeover, the guy that was the administrator for the town that was going to take us over said, I'll take everybody but 2 people. I'm not taking Billy Styskal. I'm not taking Donnie Allen. I looked at Donnie's older than me. He had 2 more years on the job than me. I'm like, where are you going to go? He says, they're not going to do anything to us. And I found out through contract negotiations, because I had a friend in West Caldwell who said, no, they've already been down there ready to sign a contract with West Caldwell. And I went to the mayor and I said, is this true? And he goes, no, that's not true. Well, somebody's lying. So I really feared, with 3 kids, a wife that was pregnant, well, who's going to take me at 15 years? So I was fortunate.
That's a scary situation to be in, because you listen, in the Styskal household, you have one hobby, because I don't think you have cable. You just kept having kids.
We have cable. That's what made the kids.
But in all honesty, being a father now, and seeing that enormous responsibility that you have to provide. Like these kids, they don't care that you're having trouble at work. You need to provide for them.
100%.
So the pressure's on, and you're all of a sudden you have to make the move, and that's what people don't realize. It's not so much about the money. You have to make the move that's going to bring about stability and happiness, so you can bring that home to your family.
Listen, when I left Essex Fells, the best man at my wedding just became chief, and the first thing I did on June 6th was hand him my letter of resignation.
Vinny?
Kelly Riley.
Okay.
So I handed my letter of resignation, and it was a long letter. A lot of it was heartfelt. I didn't want to leave, but I felt I couldn't sit back and wait to see, am I still going to have a job? I mean, in hindsight, they didn't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. Donnie got promoted to lieutenant. I had to do something. I had to do something for my family. Like you said, I got to provide. We had, I had 3 kids. My wife was pregnant with our 4th kid. And, you sit back and you're like, how are you going to pay the bills? Yep. So I had to do it. And I was fortunate. The chief at the time, not a lot of guys thought very highly of him. I get along with him, Charlie Tubbs from West Caldwell. He says, you know what, let's just talk. Let's just go someplace. We'll sit down where no one's going to know who we are. So we went to the Train Diner in West Caldwell where we know everybody. And he says, I'll buy you breakfast. We'll sit down and we'll talk. And he said, and he kind of laid everything out for me. And he said, we can bring you over here at a lateral pay. You're not going to go over in seniority laterally, but you'll be stable here. We have a good contract. I actually took an $8,000 raise by transferring over. And he says, you're well liked here and you're going to be received,
Everybody knew you.
It
was like coming home.
I was negotiating their contracts.
Right.
So, and I sit down before a border review and I'm sitting down and they're shooting the same questions at me like they were like a rookie cop. You see the lieutenant driving down the street, he's doing 10 miles an hour to speed limit. You were told to write tickets. You going to write him a ticket? I said, absolutely not. I grew up with that kid.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna. So it was kind of refreshing to them, and they all knew who I was. So they welcomed me with open arms.
Well, I was schooled. One of my mentors was Richie Valentine.
Okay, yeah, another great guy.
Who just passed.
Yeah, what a shame.
Richie, so when I would sit and have lunch with Richie and Steve, right? I would sit and have lunch with these guys, and it was like a master's class on how to be a cop.
Yeah.
And Richie was so damn smart, and he was such a great guy. And for whatever reason, he took a liking to me. So these 2 men really schooled me, not only in good ways, but in bad ways too. Like Richie, I did a couple Richie Valentine-isms in my career. Like I wrote a bunch of tickets, and the court docket was filled up with all my cases, and I booked out sick. That's a Richie Valentine move, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I wasn't very happy where I was, so that was my...
Yeah.
It was a kid thing. But I know, West Caldwell has an impeccable reputation. They always did. And you when you moved over there, I saw you just fit. Like you were always there. And so there was no... I never saw... Well, I'm not there, obviously, but I never saw any transition. I'm sure there was anxiety in you because you're going to a new place.
Like I said, I got to learn the West Caldwell way. I knew the streets. We were on the same radio, so I knew the radio, communications going back and forth. Had to learn a couple of the streets there, but I knew most of them. I just had to know the reporting systems and, how they operated day to day. There was a guy there who says, I feel bad trying to, you got to go do a school crossing. I said, it's okay, man. And he says, well, you're Bill Styskal. Yeah. And I'm just me. I can't ask you to do it. I said, look, you're a corporal, right? So you have a little bit of rank. You got to tell me what to do. I'm okay with it. I'm here. Consider me the new guy. And he goes, "You're right. You're the shiny new nickel. Now go do the crossing." I go, "Whoa."
Well, you took two of our guys, West Caldwell. You took Paulie V.
Yep.
And you took Dave.
Correct.
Dave
Yes.
V.
Yep.
And listen, I did some jobs with both of them. Dave I got on with, but Paulie V, him and I shook down a Dunkin' Donuts truck one night. we didn't. But what we did was
He got hired with my wife.
Yeah. Paulie did?
Paul
That's
and
right.
Greg Drux,
That's
both.
right.
Yeah, they both got hired with my wife.
Drux went to
Livingston.
Did he go to? Oh, that's right. Drux. Who went to? Mark Gray went to
DEA.
DEA. That's where he went. But Paulie and I are behind the disabled Dunkin' Donuts truck. Right. It's like 2:00 in the morning. Him and I, right at Eisenhower and Eagle Rock. And I remember Paul turning to me and going, "We better get out of here. It looks like we're shaking down the Dunkin'
Oh man,
Donuts."
what a great photo op that would have been.
That would've been great. But that was when the job was fun, right?
Yeah.
So and I know you did so many different things in the West Caldwell Police Department. You were just there. You were Bill Styskal in just a different place, because, I mean, what did it feel like for people who maybe had above you in rank, but they're still coming to you for advice? Because that's the one thing you really are good at.
Family, bro.
You're good at giving advice to people.
It's all family.
Yeah.
And that's the way I saw it. I never looked at anybody any differently than I tried telling Dave Vanderclock one day, "You don't wear your personality on your shoulder or on your sleeves, right? I know who you are. I know what you're capable of. You don't have to tell me you're a sergeant or corporal or a lieutenant." So we all kind of had that same attitude. We called each other by first names unless we were out in public. Then it was by rank, and that was the respect thing. But we all really got along very well. So nobody ever really felt like, I got to walk around on eggshells. One guy did, and I just told him, again, about the school crossing. You just tell me what you got to have done and do it. So, and they all really transitioned very well with me. So, and I told them, I don't know the West Caldwell. You got to show me the West Caldwell. So teach me. I can be taught. And I think my welcoming, understanding, sort of resilient attitude that I had coming into the department, both Dave and I were assigned to the BON. So Dave came with a lot of experience from Passaic County Prosecutor's Office. He worked narcotics there. I kind of made a name for myself because I made a lot of narcotics arrests. So they said, send him down to BON. So, I mean, they thought very highly of me. They really did. And that they throw me the bone to go down to BON or give me an assignment. Like I became part of their emergency services unit, went to EMT school. I really excelled. It was one of the things I was really good at was, helping people who were in bad shape. We talked about the one incident in North Caldwell that, buried a lot of people emotionally for years.
This is another thing that I need to get out. So you're the first person that has been in this studio that has bore witness to my shooting. You are the first person.
Wow.
I have never had anybody else. I don't really talk to too many other cops. I certainly don't talk to too many people from my department. For some reason, it slipped my mind that you were there. But you saw firsthand the genesis of what went down the road. And I want to hear this third-party perspective because it kind of gets into what I want to talk about tonight. When you found out that I was, and I don't know this perception from anybody, when you found out some of the difficulties I was having, I wasn't coming back to work, nobody knew really what was going on with me. What was your perception of what was going on with me?
Dude, I felt heartbroken. Because if you're sitting there by yourself suffering through a traumatic event,
I don't even know what information got out.
I only know because I was there. I was there, actually, literally a kid that we just got out of FTO was a first officer there. He actually called out the shots fired because he was walking towards the backyard on the deck. And I remember saying, did he just say shots fired? Like, you don't hear that, on our radios, right?
Not in the West Essex area.
But I knew about this particular case because we got a heads up that this guy was coming up.
The Trax machine.
Right. So we got this information that the guy was coming up, and I just didn't put two and two together like immediately. So I saw a whole different perspective, and it happened so quick. And the first person I encountered there, wasn't my guy. It was you. And, dude, I felt horrible. One, I have what I think is an active shooter inside a household. I have an officer who's injured. I have another officer in the back. I have no idea where he is or what condition he's in. And then we were faced with the son that came out saying that his mother was just shot in the head. Just absolutely horrible. So knowing what you went through, at least what I think you went through in the back, I need to help you, and I can't. But that's then. So the job's over. 8 hours goes by. We're just kind of, we were pinned down behind a car for 4 hours until the teams unit came.
I was in the back behind, there was a split rail fence, and me and Jason H, I won't say anything.
Right. Mm-hmm.
We're back there for 2 hours. My arms are all sliced up, and it's July, and it's hot. And And I remember sitting there going to Jay going, do you believe this shit? And because we fully expected at that time for him to come running out, suicide by cop.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When the mother came out, when the son came out and said that the mother had been shot, I told you I was carrying an entry tool bag. I just getting ready to strap it on my back. The guy behind me was going to actually make entry. We were going to go in. We were going to neutralize the threat because we still thought it was actively going. So the son comes out. We take the son. I said, somebody secure the son in a car, pat him down because I don't know who this guy is. And we start moving up, and the garage door goes up. And then I see, literally like a girl. I threw the stool pack like a girl. I was like, no offense to anybody out there, but I did not act like myself. I dropped to the ground. I saw feet coming at me. So I know the emotions that I was going through, and I wasn't shot at. So I know the emotions that I went through. I knew my responsibility because I had two guys with me that were my responsibility. My sergeant, who was Paulie V, was literally down the street and trying to set up a command post because you guys, one of you guys was on a road job.
Terry.
Came off the road job.
You're still in a yellow shirt. That's not the best shirt to get moved into in a shoot.
I said, well, if you could send him up by me. Yeah. So the thing that pained me the most on that particular night was the fact that I had to leave you. That was number one. Then I know once the adrenaline dumps over and everyone's completely exhausted and the night's over and this guy's giving himself up, where's Kevin? Where is he? And who's helping him? Not my department. And your boss at the time wanted nothing to do with me and wanted nothing to do with my department.
In deposition, he said I retired because I got glass in my arm. That's an open deposition.
That's terrible. And we talked about this too. Everybody has a different click for what gets to them, right? Have a bullet whiz over your head. That could be enough, right? Have multiple bullets and glass falling on you and getting cut and thinking I just got shot up. I think of the things that, I can't imagine what was going through your mind at the time.
But post-shooting, I don't, again, you're really actually the first. This is actually embarrassing to say. You're really the first person I've ever talked to from the outside because you stayed on the job, you stayed there, and I'm sure the rounds got made where I don't know what the fuck he's doing.
I'll tell you what. When we were there that night, our biggest concern was where we were parked. It was literally in front of the garage. Over the garage is where he was posted. He had a 9mm handgun. Every time he looked through the horizontal blinds, he'd lift up the horizontal blinds with a gun. I have a brand new kid just out of field training next to me. He had a rifle. I said, you keep your eyes on that window. That's your window. You see anything, take the shot. Right? If he's going to shoot at us, take the shot. I have other guys looking at different things. So this is what I'm seeing on the outside. Again, I think you're shot. I think you're in the hospital. I don't know where you went. I don't know what happened. I remember saying we're pinned down for hours until the teams unit came and they pulled us out in a Bearcat.
Yep. Drove right through the backyard. That's how we got out.
Dude, that was absolutely insane. And I remember saying to myself, I kind of joked with the guys that were next to me. The one kid, Anthony's down by a tire. I think he was sleeping for a while. So I said to him, dude, this is how we're going to die. I'm going to die next to you. I don't want to die next to you. So, but crazy. I always deal with a lot of my stress in life through humor. I've always tried that everything is funny. Not everybody understands that. One of the things I've learned over the years is in talking to different people who have some really major issues is you got to listen to what they have to say. I know it. If you're telling me that really fucked me up, and we got to talk, dude. You just, let's go. I'm going to go back to my Montclair days. I was involved in a shooting where somebody fired a round at us, and I heard the round go over my head. Young kid, 19 years old. And I remember a captain coming up to me, he goes, "You all right?" I said, "It's a little scary." And he goes, you could see it in my face. And this is where one of these things I learned from Montclair. Just look at the overall picture. Listen to what the guy's saying. Is he responding like he always does? He says, "You know what, after work, let's go to the diner." We went to the Pilgrim Diner up in Cedar Grove. And he says, "You all right?" And I said, "That's a little fucked up." Yeah. You know, that round came close. Not to mention, when I went to get back up, the guys behind me are now shooting at the bad guy. So I'm getting in the middle of a crossfire. So, he says, "Listen, everything you're feeling is normal. Everything's good and you're alive. And it's a learning experience." But he never dismissed me. He was always super supportive. And here's the key to everything good in supervision and everything with resiliency is trust. One word, trust. I trusted him to listen to me and to guide me. And he did. He did a great job. And I'll never forget him for that.
And so you go back to your department with a couple different eyes. There's the West Essex area is a highly suburban area. All right, you get your thefts, you get your car chases, you get your burglaries. You don't get these things.
No,
you get your suicides, right? There's plenty of those. So it was a little bit different. After that night, did it change the way you did police work a little bit?
Yeah, it did. It opened my eyes. It's an eye opener. Listen, every job that you go to is a learning experience, right? I learned a lot out of that one, for sure. It's the first time I've been involved outside of being in BON, where I was involved in a shooting in a suburban area, and it was crazy. So it's an eye opener. And then to listen to everybody talk post shooting. A lot of things, I looked at them and I'm like, dude, you weren't there. You have no idea what happened. And I heard other people saying, that was crazy. Like, we never saw this coming. You get the Trek messages, right, that the guy's coming. He's going to come after his wife. You never think it's going to happen.
Because you become,
not to that level.
You get complacent. I was complacent. So if you were out front, my car was parked right in front. Still running. My cell phone's in there.
That's the car I was hiding behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vehicle too.
Yeah, and I actually heard the cell phone ringing.
Yeah, that was that's a postscript to the story because I used the EMT's phone to call my wife. But we become very complacent. We don't think this stuff's going to happen, and then when it happens, you're kind of you're a little bit blown away.
Yeah.
So when you take that back to your department, and you're already that guy that people come to for sage advice, a lot of times buried underneath tons and tons of inappropriate humor, but you give great advice, right? Now you have this new learning experience, and now you see how people reacted. Maybe they're reacting a little bit different, and you're on the back nine of your career. Were you able to use that with another officer?
Oh my God, yeah. You know what? I flipped the script instantly, and I say like this: I'm not going to a cop's funeral. All right, Gerald Veneziano on that job, right? That day that he got shot, I was working, unfortunately, that one too.
You're like a black cloud.
Bro, you have every bad thing that's ever happened. And everyone keeps saying it's got to be Styskal. It's got to be Styskal's there. So the night before, the Gerald Veneziano story is funny. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. But, I flipped the script immediately. I'm not going to a funeral. Nobody's seriously injured. We got the bad guy. Nobody's dead. So flip the script. Let's not talk about the bullshit because you weren't there. Everything you're saying is basically what you think happened because you don't know what happened. I was there. I know what happened. So let's look at the bright side of this. We all walked out alive. Now, but not uninjured, right? So the injuries come in physical and mental form. I know there was physical injury and I know there's mental injury. Not just you, everybody that was there, especially the other guys that were in the back of the house engaging with this guy. So, and I think we used to do debriefings after every major call that we had. And is there a debriefing? Where's the debriefing on this job?
The debriefing happened on Monday. All right. Shooting was on a Wednesday night.
Right.
Or early Thursday. No, Wednesday night at about 10:45.
Right.
The debriefing didn't happen until Monday. And this is where I almost got fired. Because I really almost did get fired. I didn't realize what was going on. I stopped sleeping, and there's a whole bunch of things in between here. But I go back in for this debriefing given by cop to cop, and debriefings are supposed to happen within like 2 to maximum 5 days. So 2 to 4 days, right? So this is 5 days postscript. I go in there and I'm sitting in the report writing room, and I hear the shotguns are going back in the car because we got our shotguns pulled. Somebody left a round in one of the pipes or something. And I'm like, okay. And my first thing was, okay, great. Good stuff's going to come out of this. This is fantastic. And then I hear they're only going in the supervisor's cars. And I lose my shit. Guy was a lieutenant, Richie. He was a lieutenant, and I start fucking screaming. Like 0 to 100 in a second. I'm screaming. I'm like, you motherfucker, I want you to go tell my wife that you're the only one that gets protection, to the point where a bunch of guys picked me up and walked me, because we were on the second floor, walked me downstairs. And that was the last time I was in the police department.
Wow.
Until recently when I went back. But that's the damage, you know. But I'm not saying that debriefing would have done anything. I wish it would have come a little sooner, because then maybe I could have understood a lot of stuff. The one I felt most, out of that whole incident, the one I felt most bad about was Dave C.
Yeah.
All right. So we had officers working the desk at the time because all our dispatchers got let go. And he was on the desk.
That's right.
Happened.
That's right. I forgot about that.
And now he's sitting there and he knows everything that's going on, yet he can't see, and he's got to wait for the information. He can't actively seek it.
Yeah.
I always felt bad for him. And I've talked to him. I talked to him afterwards, and I expressed those feelings to him. To me, that would have been the worst night of my life if I was on that desk.
Yeah, because you feel helpless, right?
Yeah.
And everybody forgets about the first person on scene, right? That dispatcher.
Mm-hmm.
They're hearing the voices. They're hearing the screams. They're hearing everything that's going on. Then you hear the officers. There's nothing you can do, and you're clueless. You don't know what's going on. So I've never neglected the dispatchers. The dispatchers, for me, were the most important, integral part of each call.
Yeah.
They're the first ones there. And they're listening to everything, and they can't absorb everything. It can only assume what's taking place. It's got to be a real mindfuck for them.
And they can't do anything to help the situation other than say, go here. That's pretty much all they can do.
And then try to get help for them.
So you finish out your career. How many years did you do total?
So I did 30 years total. And then I went back, into collegiate policing.
Well, so that's the second part of your career. So you retire, you're out, you get your pension, you did your time, and you did a hell of a job. You're one of the most.
Thank you very much.
You're
brother.
one of the
Thank
most
you.
well-respected officers in the West Essex area. Everybody knows you. So.
Yeah, they write policies about me.
The Styskal doctrine?
Yeah, there is one out there like that.
There's a lot of Donaldson doctrines, yeah. I was very proud of them,
yeah,
too.
Me too.
But so you step back from law enforcement, and that had to be... Now, when you went to retire, did you have a second career already picked out?
No, I said I was done. I didn't want nothing to do with law enforcement.
Had to be a sad day for you.
Well, if you watch my walkout on YouTube, you'll see me crying. It was tough, bro. It was tough. I loved the job. I loved the guys I worked with. I was just getting a little tired of the politics.
Mm-hmm.
And not so much, within West Caldwell. There's nationwide politics, and a lot of the information that was coming out about all cops being bad and all this other stuff. And this is where social media ruined our profession. Everybody says, now everybody hates cops. People hated cops back in the 70s. They used to call us pigs, right? But there's no social media.
September 12th, 2001, we were heroes.
You're right. And that lasted for a little time. And everybody went to church.
Yeah.
Right? Church was packed. Mm-hmm. I went into church last Sunday. There's like 7 of us in there.
Mm-hmm. So you decide to hang it up, not knowing now you got this uncertain future, mm-hmm. and you still got a kid going through the school system. I know that.
Oh, yeah.
So now you don't know what to do. And, what was your next step?
I don't know. When you're a cop, you say, I do my 25 years, 30 years, I get out, and then I can live off my pension.
No.
That's not the case. No. It's not. And I remember a guy telling me in my department, Eddie Nemeth, have a plan B. because it's going to hit you hard, because you're not going to be making overtime. You're not going to be working road jobs. That extra money that you've always looked for and got isn't going to be there anymore. And by the way, you're only getting 65, 70% of your salary. That's it. So there's something missing there.
Yep.
I left just at the time where we started paying into our healthcare benefits. So there wasn't that much of a difference, when I wound up leaving. But still, it's an impact. And then I started saying, I really missed the job. And then I wound up running into a guy. Actually, I ran into him in my walkout. And he says, hey, come work for me. I said, dude, I'm not wearing a gun anymore. I'm done. I checked out. I'm finished. It was hard for me to walk away, and it's tough for me to even drive past that building without getting teary-eyed. But being out of the job for 6.5 months, 7 months, the guy says, you'll call me. And I did. I called him up and I said, all right, so what do you think? And he says, come in and talk to me. So I go in and I talk to him. And he says, you come work here at Stevens Institute, right? We have a police department, it pays not all that great, but hey, listen, we'll pay for all your kids to go to school. I said, nah, my kids are too stupid. They're not going to Stevens. No way. So he says, any school, any public college, not a private college. So I said, all right, I'll give it a shot. I'll start Tuesday. You want me to, clean toilets or whatever? He goes, no, you come be a cop. You can make a decent amount of money. And then I found like we call it the old folks retirement home, right? The old cops go and we all die and retire at Stevens. I got guys working with me from Harrison. I got guys from Jersey City. I got guys from Hohokus, Union County Police, from all over the place. Everybody brings all these experiences and stories, and that's all we do is we talk about stories. And what best thing about this whole job is it brings me back to 1983, 84, where we laughed every day.
Yeah.
And I used to say...
Well, you're around the group of people that did laugh.
Yeah. I mean, I have such a good group of guys that I work with. My particular group that I work with are the best. They really are the best. I wish I could take Bobby onto my side.
Well, I watched you. I think I saw you first on Facebook, and you're working at Stevens. I'm like, huh. I was like, and I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the nature of Stevens as far as police work goes, where you're a cop, you're just not in the pension system, until Bobby got the job. And when Bobby told me, he goes, oh, I'm going to Stevens. And I'm like, oh, you're going to be working with Billy Styskal. Because I always had eyes on you, right? I always watch you because I admired you. I admired what the
I thought I felt something burning.
Yeah. I might have stalked you a little.
Yeah. Goes both ways.
little voodoo doll every once in a while. How's it feel when I tickle here? But I watched you do it, and I'm like, all right, so it actually is an endearing thing because you're a guy who actually, your love for the profession always came through. Like you really had a passion for the profession.
And that's it. It's a passion.
And
it's a calling. And
then when you went back into it, I'm like, okay, well, that makes perfect sense. Plus I knew you got the college benefit. I'm like, he's got 17 kids. So that makes sense. It's like a little house on the prairie in town. But you get in there, and how did you get involved in the Resiliency Project?
So we had a guy that worked for us. He was retired from Essex County Sheriff's, and I didn't know anything about the resiliency end of it. When they brought resiliency back into law enforcement and how important it was. So they put something out to some of the guys, and they said, hey, you want to be a resiliency officer? The guy looked at him and goes, sure, why not? So I saw what he was doing, and I said, man, what a great, great position to be in. Not only can I help the community I serve, but I can help, the guys I work with, guys that have been through some of the same thing as I went through. I can listen for them like people didn't want to listen for me. I can kind of give back to my own, right? And it's my own family. So
it's a nice bow on your career.
Dude, I hit the lottery. I really did. I'm talking about my entire career. My entire adult life, I've been in uniform, and I've loved every bit of it. I mean, listen, everyone's got their down days, right? But this job to me, when I first took this job, I started at $14,000 a year. It wasn't about the money. It was about I wanted to be on the job. I wanted to be a cop. I wanted to be part of something, in a sense, kind of cliche, something bigger than myself. Truly being a cop is. You really have to have a love and a passion for the job. And I think when people see that, they start to have a little bit more respect for you because you're not in it for the money. You're not in it for the glory. You're not in it for the medals. And you're certainly not in it, to make others happy. You're there to, this is a fulfilling prophecy for me to be able to go out and help others. So I got real lucky. I'm blessed to be where I am, and I don't want to leave.
So the funny thing is like police work to me was always being that person when the shit's hitting the fan in somebody's world. You know, you go to a call and that's their worst day. The shit's hitting the fan and you're the person that they don't know what to do, but they're looking to you for all the answers. You are their man, you know, the man in the cape showing up saying, I got you, even if you don't know what's going on. And you were always that guy on many different levels, right? So it makes perfect sense to me that you're the resiliency officer in your department, because I know there are several times when I had questions about police work or departmental issues or administrative issues. I would say, hey, Billy, what do you think? And then, you know, you're there for other officers just to walk them through some sticky situations. You were the guy that everybody went to. And now you're at Stevens and you're still the guy. So you've never changed.
No, I haven't. It's different clowns, same circus, you know? So I'm with a bunch of different guys, and everybody has, you know, recognized the same thing that you just recognized. I'm so happy to be able to be part of somebody's life. Listen, if you can affect one person in your life to make it a better day for them, man, you've really done well. To do it multiple times, dude, I feel like Superman sometimes. Yeah. I really do. An overweight, fat, can't fly anymore. My cape's ripped, but I still feel like Superman.
Superman with arthritis?
Yeah, kind of like Handyman.
But I think that resiliency officer position for you, God, I wish they had it 30 years ago. Because I still think you would have been the right person. Maybe you would have had to grow into it a little bit, but you still would have been the right person for that job.
So here's the one thing about resiliency that we're starting to realize now. How many cops are killing themselves, right?
It's retired guys.
Too many.
It's so the statistics on police suicide are so skewed, and it's something I'm heavily involved in now. My partner took his life last year.
Yeah. And I'm very sorry for that, brother. I really am.
It hurts every single day.
I know.
So you have active officers taking their lives. Right, we hear that one every day, and everybody's loud and proud about it and stuff. What we're not hearing is about the retired guys.
Yeah,
and I know one of the guys that's involved in the. I've had him in here, David Perez. Mm-hmm. He's working on building a list of retired guys so he can be the resiliency officer for the retired area, because it's a misrepresented situation. You know, nobody. I'm not even a member of Local 600, the retired one.
Yeah,
whatever. Although maybe I would get PBA cards because I don't get them from our local. So, but they're just an underserved portion of the police world. And what's going on? These guys are going 100 miles an hour while they're working, and all of a sudden they retire and it's stop.
Yeah, yeah. And you feel like you have no purpose anymore. And I'm going to tell you, it's funny that it's not funny that you bring this up about retired guys, right? You go into a traumatic event. You know, there's something out there that says the average human being sees about 2 to 4. I mean, the numbers are a little bit weird, but they're generally
as high as 800. Yeah,
2 to 4 traumatic events in a lifetime. Cops see, and I'm not excluding firemen, EMS, dispatchers, about 800 roughly traumatic events. I've probably seen more than that, unfortunately. It doesn't affect you when it happens. 20 years from now, 25 years from now, and I'm going to tell you firsthand, an incident that took place 17, 18 years ago haunts me today. Didn't haunt me back then. But now I sit back and I go, holy shit, why wasn't I not messed up from that? And it was in a conversation I had with a retired deputy chief from Irvington. And I'm telling him the story.
Mike?
No, not Mike. No, Mike is a traumatic event in himself.
He's one of the only bosses I know over in Irvington.
So he's actually a guy that works with us, Steve Yanati. He's a retired deputy chief. So I was telling Steve, and I was kind of regaling what happened during that day, and he looked at me and he goes, I'm actually traumatized by what you're telling me. and you know, he's a funny guy, so I kind of laughed, and he goes, you need help. And he was right.
Yeah.
Like, dude, how can you look at this in a humorous sort of way? There's nothing funny about this. But I told him that's my reaction towards trauma is through humor. But there comes a time when you're retired and you're not around those guys anymore and you're not telling those stories that you sit and you think and you're like, holy shit, like I really had a messed up career. And a lot of people can't cope with that, especially during my era where I never went to anybody for help. I never talked to anybody because it made you seem weak.
You also get put on the rubber gun squad.
100%. In those days, listen, what they've done with resiliency and what they've done for police officers now is fantastic. And the way they treat people who have issues. Since I've been at Stevens, I've had 2 cases of resiliency. Both of them, the administrators were phenomenal in making sure that we, whatever department they were with, they got employee assistance, that they wound up getting all the support they needed from the command staff. Not a bump in the road with any of them. I don't know if it would have been like that 30 years ago.
No, you're getting these new chiefs in there. You're getting these younger chiefs in there that are a little bit more in tune to that stuff. You're getting guys that are my age or just a hair older than me getting into the chief's position right now. And I know I look at things completely different than, say, these dinosaurs who are now 70, who used to be the command staff when we were there. They didn't look at it the same way. They need the younger guys in there with different eyes who are more in tune to mental health, physical health, training, all those great things. But you were one of those guys that was steadfast and persistent the whole time. And that's why, if you were to ever leave law enforcement, and someday you will, if you were to ever leave law enforcement, the job would lose a very valuable asset.
Oh, thanks. That means a lot.
I mean, it really would, on so many different levels. Your administrative acumen, your union acumen, your resilience acumen, just your experience in general. You've seen it all and you've done it all.
So it's my job now to make sure that I bring up other officers to sort of fill my shoes and to train them and get them to understand. I got part of the Hudson County Resiliency Group, commanded by a girl from the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office. She's phenomenal. She's really into the program. She takes it to heart. She loves it, and she wants it to grow. So I try to look for other guys who have the same kind of like mentality that I have of wanting to help others, other brothers and sisters that are going through problems. I have one guy that works for me right now. He says to me all the time, "You all right? You all right?" He's always doing the check-in, right? And that's part of the job, just checking in.
Well, Bobby and I do that to each other, but here, let me play a little phone call of how Bobby and I check on each other. This is what I'll get. I'll get an audio message because that's all Bobby does. Hey, fuckface, you okay? And then he'll talk about some sort of inappropriate coffee enema.
No, don't tell me that.
Oh, it's brutal. It's brutal. Like, so the rule is, amongst my 3 best friends, the rule is if one of us dies, you better wipe the group chat. Yeah. You better wipe that shit because that cannot get out. Yeah. It's bad. Yeah. It's bad. But so, Billy, listen, we're coming to the end of this thing. Is there anything you want to throw out there? And listen, if you ever need my help with the Hudson County Resilience, you call me. I'll be 100%, there because that's my passion now, and that's what I love to do. Is there any plugs you want to throw out anywhere? No, listen, I encourage every cop that's active. I have 2 sons that are in a police academy now, and we're trying to push. Where? They're in Passaic County. Oh, yeah. They get to hear the explosions at 10 o'clock every day. Yeah. From the Rock Corps. Right, yeah. And I say, 1, how do we recruit? How do we retain? And how do we prepare these kids for what's in the future? I just implore everybody that's out there that's active or retired on the job, take one of these kids. I'm not talking about as an FTO. I'm talking about as somebody that they can go to for help. Mm-hmm. Because I look at both my kids and I say, you have no idea what you're getting into. None. You can watch all the cops you want. You can watch all the videos. There ain't nothing like being there. And it's going to affect you. And my kids, I'm very protective over, especially my 2 older boys. Are they going to be able to handle this? Because not everybody can. And are they going to get the support within their agencies that they're going to go to? And that's where I say everybody's got to take one of these guys under their, and I'm not talking about just one guy. It could be an entire department. It could be a squad of guys. Say, listen, I say with my guys, what happens on our squad stays on our squad. And if you ever need anything 24 hours a day, ring me up. And they all say the same thing. So take each other under your wings, support one another, because the support comes from within. We've seen this lack of support that we see on the outside, and we need to educate a lot of the public too on what police officers go through so they have a better understanding. A stronger mental, physical officer makes a much stronger police department as a whole.
And that's what brings the brotherhood together. We don't have that brotherhood anymore. We need to bring that back again.
The best advice I ever heard, somebody who did exactly what you just laid out there. On my department, there was a lieutenant who 6 years down the road, 7 years down the road, his son gets hired on that department. Kip. All right?
Yeah.
Kip was the old man. And talking to his son, who I was very, very good friends with, this is what he told me. He goes, my dad said, if you got a problem, shut your mouth and come talk to me. All right. And in that particular atmosphere, that was probably the best advice I ever heard. You know, have that one person. He wanted to be that one person for his son, no matter what it is. I'm the one person in the world that's definitely not going to judge you, and I'm always going to give you the best advice. Some of the advice Kip gave wasn't the best advice, but hey, I think that was the best advice. So for you to be able to do that with your sons, or be that person, or designate somebody who you trust in order to be there, now all of a sudden we can raise a generation of cops that don't have to deal with the same mental battles that our generation dealt with.
100%. Listen, we got to bring the suicide rate down for people in our job. It's just way too high. It's unnecessary. I've seen 12 people in my career that I know that have taken their lives. It's horrible. And every one of them, with the exception of one, I said I should have been there. I should have done something. I should have said something. Don't be that guy. Go to them. Reach out. Right? The check-in.
The coulda,
do
woulda,
the Bobby
shouldas will
Credell
kill
check-in,
you.
right? Hey, fuck face.
Yep.
You know what? I'm thinking of you. It's his gentle way of saying it.
Oh yeah, that's his way. And I appreciate that. Like,
Check-ins. I do. Yeah. No matter good day, bad day, just make sure you're checking in on one another, because you know what? Everybody's got something going on, even if it's outside the agency. It could be personal. So we got to check in on each other.
So we end this show the same way every single time. You've had this, I mean, it's got to be a 40-year career now, right?
43 years.
43-year career. You've seen some suffering. Like, you've really, really seen some suffering.
More than I care to admit.
But you've stayed persistent throughout it all. Of the suffering that you've witnessed personally and outwardly and professionally, and all this stuff that you've seen over this 43 years, if you don't learn from that, I think it's a wasted opportunity. So what has your suffering of this 43 years of being persistent as a law enforcement officer taught you?
To listen, to be transparent. Don't bullshit guys. Tell them exactly what's going to happen, how you're going to help them. And I said this in the beginning, trust, and establishing trust with people is so important. This is such a passion for me. Like, being a cop is a passion. To be a resiliency officer and to be able to help others. In my 43 years, I've learned probably to shut my mouth a lot and listen more, because some guys just want to be heard. They don't want to be talked to. It's not my job. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not going to sit there and counsel you. I'm there as a listener. If you want someone to hold your hand, I'll hold your hand. If you need someone to drive you someplace, whether it's rehab, whether it's to a doctor to seek some mental wellness, I'll bring you there. If you don't want me to bring you there, I'll find someone to bring you there. But I'm here. I'm always here, and I'm here ready and willing and able to listen to everybody. So one of the biggest things I've learned is to shut my mouth, right? Which is kind of hard for me. But just shut up, listen, and do check. I'm such a big supporter of check-ins. I got a guy who calls that sick, I check on him. They think I'm looking on. Listen, I know you're really sick, but hey, if you need anything, I'm here for you, whatever you need. We had another guy who went through some tremendous post-traumatic stress from issues from post-war, had some real problems, and if I could have carried him on my back to the doctor, I would have. But we were able to get him help, and it's those things that make me. That's the drive that keeps me going, to be able to help people.
Well, you never leave a brother or sister behind.
Never.
You've held that throughout your whole career. Billy, I appreciate so
Thank
many
you very
different
much,
things
brother.
about you. I appreciate you coming in here, rehashing. We could have talked for 2 hours, but we do have to call it quits. But I appreciate everything you do. I especially appreciate the type of cop you were, because you made others around you better.
And I appreciate all that you did. And I got to tell you, we go back to that night that you were working, and I feel I should have pushed more to get you the help that you needed. But I'm going to tell you, and now that I got your cell number, I'm going to bother the shit out of you. if you ever need anything, I'm always here for you. Always.
And that goes both ways.
And you've had always a special spot in my heart, kind of like Bobby does, but Bobby's a little bit different.
Bobby's like a rash you can't get rid of.
Yeah, but I kind of like it. I like itching it.
It feels good.
Yeah, he's very refreshing. But anything you ever need, brother, and anybody else out there that needs anything,
reach out to the show. I'll get you in contact.
100%. I'm there for anybody who needs me.
And that's going to do it for this episode of The Suffering Podcast, The Suffering of Persistence with Billy Styskal. And let's think about all the stuff that we learned. Communication is not just about talking. Some officers just know these things. Billy's a freaking black cloud is what Billy is. Everything is a learning experience. Be something bigger than yourself. But the most important thing, I learned how to be a better cop from Billy Styskal.
No, thanks, brother.
And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to go to popple.com, put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount on your digital business card. Follow us on all social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Clapper, OnlyFans. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson, and of course, follow The Suffering Podcast. We'll see you on the next one.